Okay. There we go. We're recording. We're live.
Well, they defeated the USB issue.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Keith Watson. I was let's see, where's page down on the site thing? New laptop. Just started using it. So delete and home.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Oh. Well, it says that's what it is. Okay, we'll just do it this way. Okay, hi, I'm Keith Watson. I was head of cybersecurity at College Computing for a long time. I started the program there. I was actually hired away from GTRI, where I was head of systems architecture. And so I'm into a lot of stuff. I run DC44, which is the local hacking group here in Atlanta. So if you're into hacking, I'm co-founder of Atlanta Locksport. I'm submarine qualified. My background is cryptography and signals intelligence, also a ham. And what we're going to talk about today is why you need to defend yourself, why you won't believe me, okay, and how to begin defending yourself. I'm also previously, it's expired since I retired. I was a security incident handler, which means I'm like NCIS or CSI for computer security. So when there's an incident, I would do signals, do the forensics on the event. What is cyber self-defense? The idea is that today everything's computerized, and I mean everything. And what people don't realize is that everything is under attack all the time. People's mental model of security is that there's a guy walking down their street, looks at my house and says, "Oh, what a dump." And across the street is a mansion with 5 big screen TVs through the windows. And he goes, "I'm going to rob that house. I'll leave that one alone." That's not how it works. On the internet, every bad actor on the planet lives next door to you. There is no one coming to help you. There is no one to call if you get attacked. You can't call, you call the police, they'll fill out a report, and that'll go in their filing cabinet. There's the FBI's, and look, well, the FBI will come help you if it exceeds about $25,000 to $50,000. They will come and help you. Otherwise, you're on your own. So you could have a state actor attack your machine. You could have organized crime attack your machine. How many of us get spam every day, right? Guess whose machine that's sent from? Y'all's. Your machine is very valuable to the attacker. They don't care if you're running Windows 95 on a dial-up modem. They're going to attack your machine indiscriminately. All the attacks are automated. Most of the attacks are against the chair to keyboard interface. That's the user. We've kind of hardened the systems pretty well. Most of the failures for security are caused by the user. So if you can solve most of those failures, you suddenly go from being relatively going to be hacked all the time to really hard nut. Like they're going to have to send SEAL Team 6 to your house, rendition you and your mom to Guantanamo, and waterboard your mom for your passwords. That's how hard they're going to have to go after you. Now, the question is, how much effort does it take to accomplish that? Very, very little. Less than what it takes to learn how to use an email program. So basically, your job is to protect yourself. No one else is going to do it. Now, there are some resources online. You can Google search how to protect yourself online. It'll take you and show you a bunch of stuff. There's stuff from the FTC. There's stuff from the Security and Exchange Commission. There's stuff from the CISA, which is the Federal Organization for Computer Security. And they do have some guidelines on things you can do to help yourself. Well, we're gonna go over those things now, and they're not all that complicated. If you go to those sites, they're gonna make it sound like you gotta hire an entire security team in order to keep you safe. You don't. Now, cybercrime, what people don't realize is cybercrime makes more money than the drug trade. In drug trade, I have to get product from a country where they're trying to kill you for doing drugs and making drugs sometimes, get that moved across many borders through people you don't trust, and eventually get it sold on the street and get all that money back. Very, very many levels of things they have to go through, lots of chance for failure. You've got governments coming after you. That's what the US is right now in the Caribbean with a carrier task group going after the drug trade right now.
Blowing up boats.
Yeah, blowing up submarines, no less. Narco subs, not exactly the same thing. But yeah, the average loss on a cybercrime event is $4,000. Now, most people think, I don't have anything to lose. If they steal my money, we'll both be broke. That's what they think. What you don't realize is the scope. Imagine I send out 1 billion emails in an email spam blast. That's typical amount of email goes out. They don't send that out through their ISP. If they did, they get shut down immediately. They send it through botnets or a bot that's on a person's computer at home, and they tell that machine to send out 1,000. Your ISP won't blink at 1,000. And they have millions of machines in these botnets. They have service level agreements. If you want to send out spam, they'll give you a service level agreement, including upgrading to evade the latest anti-malware for their bots. It's a big business. Now, if you think about it, if you decide to buy the Cialis without the prescription and you send them your $300, guess what you're going to get back? Nothing. Absolutely correct. And who are you going to complain to? Yeah, I'm going to run down to the police and say, dear sir, I was trying to commit a felony by buying prescription drugs without a prescription, and they robbed me. And they go, really? Could you come over here and just have a seat for a minute? The sergeant will be with you. Would you mind wearing these handcuffs while you're here? It's just for our protection, right? That's what's going to happen to you. That happens. No joke. That does happen. I know of one case where a guy came into the precinct over in Tucker, complained to the desk sergeant that a guy had ripped him off in a attempted drug buy. And he said, really? We'll get an officer on that immediately. They took him in a car and they went out and they found the guy and they arrested both of them. So, yeah.
Good.
Okay. What's the scrap value of a hacked PC? Most people don't know. Your machine's worth a lot of money to the bad guy. We don't view the value of that machine the way they do. They see it as a money machine that just cranks out money. They send out 1 billion emails. They get 0.01% response for $300 to $4,000 each. Multiply that out. They've just made $40 million by pressing one button. They didn't use their computer and they went through multiple proxies. Do you know how hard it is to get the police records from Russia to track down when they went through a machine in China, that went through Bolivia, that came back through Brazil and then over to France? Forget it, not going to happen. Very low risk of being attacked. Until they do something really, really heinous, do you see them go after them. It's got to be really, really big, okay? Your email account and your social media accounts are worth a lot of money to them. They make great sums of money off this. Open source intelligence. What's open source intelligence? That's all the stuff that's out there freely available about anybody or anyone. And it is staggering how easy it is to find information about people. They can use that open source intelligence to go in and do things like take over your credit record, take over your medical record, and then sell operations to people who don't have medical insurance. That actually happens. Now, how do you protect yourself if it's your credit record? It's real simple. That part's easy. You go to the 3 major credit reporting agencies, and for free, you freeze your credit. Now, what that means is anytime you want to open up a new line of credit, you want to buy furniture or a car, anything like that, you're going to have to unfreeze your credit. It's free. You unfreeze it, they do the credit check, and you have to freeze it back. If you freeze your credit, it locks them out, and it's free to do. Highly recommend you do that. Social engineering, you have all kinds of stuff. You have phishing. That's email. Phishing is email attacks. Think of phishing with a pole, only through email. There's email phishing, spear phishing. That's when they target you specifically, and they will go after people specifically. Say you are the comptroller for a major corporation. I saw there was one as an oil company where they were going to the tune of $1 million or so a month being billed out something that had never happened. One of our deans had their paycheck redirected. That's spear phishing. That's where they go after you specifically. Voice phishing. How many of you gotten voice calls? Right. Right. Yeah, you're what's the one you got? Oh, let me guess. There's an arrest warrant out for you, and if you pay us with a credit card.
Got that one.
You've had that one? How many have had that one? I've had that one. That's voice phishing or vishing. Then you're smishing. That's when you get an SMS message. Oh, your account's been cut off. Respond immediately. Everything always has a false sense of urgency. Here's the thing to know about the police. If there's ever a warrant out for you, if there's anything like that, they never tell you. They just show up at 3 o'clock in the morning and arrest you. Why 3 in the morning? You're less likely to resist. You're asleep, your family's asleep, you're not wearing any clothes. That's why they come to your house. They know where you are, they know where you sleep. That's why they come at 3 in the morning. Cybercrime. Now, cybercrime is where people are actually using networks and computers to commit crimes. They do some of them. There's a system, I can't think of the name of it right now. It's used to do the trading between banks internationally. They've broken into that, siphoned off money. That's one governments will come after you for, by the way. Cybercrime is huge. It's big business. Now, this is the part where people don't believe me. You can actually stop the bleeding for yourself. Notice the tourniquet. You can actually stop the bleeding. How many people in here have received a breach notice? More than one breach notice. Yeah, it's very common. You're going to receive a breach notice. You're counting on every company doing everything right all the time. The bad guys only got to get it right once. When they get compromised, they compromise your account and your email address and your password. If you reuse the password across multiple sites, they now have access to all your sites. All of that stuff goes on breach lists, which are widely available on the internet. They take these, they use automated attacks, they try all the different social media across the planet and do what's called credential stuffing. You might have heard of that. And they stuff all these credentials in there and then grab all the accounts they can get, leverage those accounts to do attacks. In some cases, if you happen to have a particularly valuable name, like it's a short name, you got a short name on like the internet, or for what's a good one? Instagram, a short Instagram name, that's actually worth money in and of itself to sell your account. Okay. Password reuse is the #1 problem for people getting compromised. They get one company doesn't keep their passwords, they keep their passwords in clear text, they get compromised, it ends up on a breach list. Next thing you know, every site that you're on gets popped all at once. It is a bad hair day when that happens. Okay. Also, they can then use it. Yeah.
Okay, so now how about two-step verification?
Yes, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay, so.
Yes.
Okay.
That is one way you can help yourself. I highly recommend that. We'll get to what that is. So the thing you do, don't use the same password on every site. How many of you here would think that'd be a big pain in the butt? It is a major pain. What if it wasn't a pain? What if instead it was a pain for the bad guy? Whenever I use these methods I'm going to share with you, in my head, every time I use them, an invisible hand reaches out the screen of some hacker over in Russia and pokes the guy right in the eye with salt on the end. Right now, and he's like, oh, wow, that really hurt. That's what I'm thinking every time I do it. I'm like, I want to make that guy suffer. Okay, there was recently a breach, I don't know if you heard about it, of Google. Guess what? None of my Gmail accounts were on that list, or my wife's. I checked them immediately. That's another thing you should do. Go check and see if your accounts have been compromised. If they have, go change your password. It takes very little effort to solve this, but it requires you to take action. It's not difficult. Once you take action, you'll no longer be at risk of having everything you own pwned all at once because somebody else didn't do their job. No security is perfect. You might get compromised. I had a machine get compromised last year. Noticed it immediately took steps to stop it from spreading and then cleaned it up. That's the whole point of security, is to detect, raise an alarm, respond to the alarm, stop the hemorrhaging. That's what you do. You compartmentalize, just like a ship has compartments. They may get torpedoed, but they don't sink when one compartment gets flooded. The ship stays afloat. That's what you're going to do with your security. Now, how to begin defending yourself? One is defense in depth. That means you don't count on any one thing protecting you. You're going to use layers of defense so that they have to run a gauntlet to get through to you. Two-factor authentication being one of those. Identity and account management. That's the number one thing you have to do. By the way, all these things, these slides, there's a link at the end to get the slides. Every one of these blue links takes you to the documentation where this came from. Identity and account management is how you manage your identity on sites, how you manage your identity with groups on sites. Those are both important. And getting group things is like when you guys want to send a file to each other to make sure it's securely sent. Okay, password manager. This is the number one tool you have in your arsenal, is a password manager. I use KeePass. You notice it's K-E-E, not K-E-Y. K-E-E Pass. It's a free app, runs on Windows. And if you want to run it on Mac, you run KeePass XC. It's a port for it for Mac. Also, that'll run on Linux. They're file compatible between them.
I've got it on my phone.
Yeah, I use it on my phone as well.
Like Ashling.
And what it allows you to do is you can go in and tell it to generate a password. Always tell it to generate a password that is as long as the site will take, with as many character sets as it will take, and it'll generate that password and it'll save it for you. You don't have to remember it. Make sure you keep backups of your password wallet. Also, put in a long passphrase. You know, she sold seashells at the seashore. Don't use that one, by the way. Something like that. Something that's easy to remember, but long, like 30 characters or more long. Punctuation, spaces, capitalization, the whole 9 yards. Makes it extraordinarily difficult to crack. Don't use something that's common, like a phrase out of a song or something out of a book. Make something up. I wish the camera hadn't been bolted to the table. There's one for you. Easy to remember, okay? Then the next thing is two-factor authentication. Now, what's two-factor? To give you an example, I have an app on my phone. I use Duo. Not all sites support this. Some sites support SMS or email, where they email you a code or SMS you a code as their two-factor authentication. I don't recommend that. Both of those, if you're ever targeted in an attack, is easily crackable, but they're going to have to target you. That's not something they do in a blanket. Okay. Duo looks like this. And when I pull one of these up, there's a code. It's good for 30 seconds. So what'll happen is you'll put in your password and it'll pop up a thing that says, we need the code. Now, if you notice, come on, get up there. I've got just a few sites. If it'll accept two-factor, buddy, I put it on there. Because if they get your password, this they don't have. Now, one of the things you have in two-factor authentication is called a push authentication. That's where they push a message that says, hey, would you like to log in or not? Well, let's say they get your password and they start logging in at 3 in the morning. It's always going to be at the worst time for you, in the middle of a meeting. Chime, your phone goes off, you check. Oh, I'm trying to log in, yes, no. And you're like, go away. You know, it does it again. And they'll just keep doing that and finally, yes, fine, go ahead. Don't do that. I turn off the push notifications. I don't use them. I open this up every time and type them in. Why? Because my hand is reaching out with salt at the end of my finger and poking him in the eye. Okay. This app is available on every kind of cell phone you have. Apple, Android. It's called Duo. Highly recommend it if your site supports it. In addition, they'll have backup codes. They'll give you a chance to get backup codes. Copy the backup codes, and where do you save them? Your password manager. There's a note field. Save it in your password manager. Now all your backup codes are there. Keep it on a thumb drive. You got to run from the house. Leave it. It's an evacuation event. We had that happen to us one time. The tree fell over and busted a gas line. We had to evacuate the house. Couldn't take the car either. Weren't allowed to start the car because it might set the gas off. So take the flash drive, put it in my pocket. Of course, it's also on my phone and her phone and my laptop and her laptop. And it's all encrypted. I don't have to worry about somebody stealing it. Also recommend, by the way, if you can, encrypt your hard drive in your computer, because if you're ever broken into and they steal your computer, they don't have access to your files. They can't access them. It's encrypted. And it comes free with the operating system.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, can I ask a question? On Windows 11, is it not already encrypted on Windows 11? I guess it's not.
No,
Windows-
by default, if it's Windows Home, it does not come with BitLocker, which is the Windows version of
Right.
BitLocker or of encryption. If you have Windows Pro or Server or anything like that, it comes with BitLocker. You have to turn it on. It doesn't come on automatically. It's not on by default.
Okay,
Now, if you have like a home version or something that doesn't have that encryption, there's a product called VeraCrypt you can use. It's free, it's open source. That's what I used for many years until I started using BitLocker became available and started using that.
I got a
VeraCrypt's very good.
Groupon selling Windows 11 Pro for $19.
Oh, there's a there's a online magazine that I subscribe to, that I get emails for. It's called Tech Spot, TECHSPOT. You can currently buy Windows 11 Pro for $9.97, and you can buy Office actual download locally installed version of Office Pro 2021 for $35.
Wow.
Yeah, killer prices, amazing, and that's a legitimate site.
That's Tech Spot?
TechSpot, TECHSPOT. By the way, if you ever have any questions, you can always contact me. I'm happy to answer questions. Okay. How to begin defending yourself. This is the extra credit stuff. Use a different user ID on every site if you can. Now, sometimes that's not possible. You have a limited number of email addresses. Since I own my own domain, one of the things I can do is make email addresses by the truckload. And I do. So what I do is I'll make one for that vendor. And if that email address gets compromised, I just kill it and make another one.
I thought I invented that idea.
Well, that's why I got my own domains, because I wanted to do that. I got tired of my main email address getting on some spammer list, and I couldn't get rid of it unless I got rid of my email address.
Somebody asked me one time, how many email addresses? At least 50 at this point, because I just give them each one of them 1 meg, because the only thing, first message comes, I delete it, it's just.
Yes, there are sites that will give you ephemeral email addresses that work for like a day.
Yeah.
For you to get on, sign up for the account and do all that, and you never use it again. You just needed to get it on there to download the white paper on how to make yourself secure with email, right? That's right. Use a different password on every site. I can't stress that one enough. Use a different email address on every site. That's optional, but better, okay? Email address is not always the user ID. Most cases, email is your user ID. If it's not, I make sure that user ID is something different, and I keep it in KeyPass. So I don't have to remember all this stuff. KeyPass becomes the equivalent of the My SEAL Team 6 who goes over and stabs the guy in the eye with a salty finger, right? Okay. Use the longest password the site will allow. Use the most character sets for the password the site will allow. Use different security answers to security questions. What was my first pet's name? Al Labs. That's what that says. Okay. Where were you born? Atlanta Radio Club. Every site gets a different answer. Now, typically what I do is I just take a string of random words. You know, bell, cat, round, pink, November, truffle. And that's the answer for that site. And I put the question and the answer in the note field in KeyPass to keep track of that. The reason I don't get real fancy by putting like a password, I could put a scrambled password in there, right? As that answer. Try giving that answer to somebody who doesn't speak English natively over the phone. The phonetic alphabet doesn't have anything for exclamation point, tilde, square bracket, curly brace, right curly brace, left curly brace, doesn't have any of that. So make it something you can spell, preferably phonetically. You guys are hands, right? You do things phonetically. Okay. If the site allows for multi-factor authentication, back to your question, definitely use multi-factor. If you can use the app like Duo, by the way, Duo's free, doesn't cost anything. If you use Duo, if you can't, sign up for SMS or email. Always turn on two-factor authentication, whatever it is, on every site that you have. Save all of the above and special information for the sites in your password manager. Use a long passphrase to secure your password database. It is AES 256 encrypted with KeyPass or KeyPass XC. By the way, there's a lot of other apps out there. You've probably heard of
One password.
Yeah, 1Password. There's another one called something Pass.
Dashlane.
Yeah, they keep it in a cloud account. Yeah, here's the problem with cloud accounts. It's one vendor. What happens when you get a nation state actor decide to go full on NSA, CIA, whatever on that, to the point of actually doing where they do a attack on the person to get them to compromise the signing keys for their software. That's actually happened for a key signing company. The companies that sign the keys that like make Amazon website secure, they compromise one of these by attacking one of the officers in the company. That's what's called a watering hole attack. That's where everything is in one spot. If you're using your own password database, if they want to get you, they have to attack you. It's worth attacking somebody who's got everybody's password database. It's not worth attacking an individual for their password database, unless you're one of these people that the NSA or the CIA or SEAL Team 6 is looking for. I hope you're not one of those. I'd hate to have to come after you. I don't do that anymore. Sorry.
So you say.
I used to, I don't anymore. Okay, now, how to begin defending yourself. One thing you have to learn is computer hygiene. It's really, really strange to me how if I came up to your door and knocked and gave you my spiel, you'd go, get out of here, and you'd call the cops on me. But if I send it to you in an email, oh, click. That Nigerian prince is gonna save me, right? You gotta learn computer hygiene. Don't sleep around with your computer, basically. Don't install software unless you absolutely need it. And then make sure it's something reputable. Yes,
Practice safe software.
yes, practice safe software. Exactly. Okay. The other thing is patch your hardware and your software. Patch your operating system every month. Patch your computer. When's the last time you patched your router at home?
What do you patch it? What do you mean patch it?
Upgrade the firmware or in the case of Windows, they come up with patches every month.
Oh, okay.
Install the patches. Your applications, if you decide to install, let me think of one here, Notepad++. It's a note editor that's better than Notepad. And you're using that. Make sure that when new versions come out, you install the new version and get the patch for it. It's very common for those third-party applications to install them and never upgrade them again. There's a free service called Chocolatey that you can use to install a bunch of those apps. You run one command, it patches everything. There's another app that Microsoft has called WinGet that will also do that same service for you. Both
Those
are
are
free.
Both of those are free?
Yep, both are free.
What's the first
There
one?
is a paid version of Chocolatey if you want support.
Chocolatey?
Chocolatey, like, chocolatey goodness.
Okay, like the bar, like truffle.
Yeah, exactly. And the command for running it is Choco, CHOCO. So it's kind of hard to, not hard to remember. Another thing you should do is not only patch your computers, but also patch your hardware. If you've got anything that connects to a network, and if you can't patch it, I suggest you don't connect it to a network. How many of you plug your TV into the network? I hope none. You do? Stop that. Okay. TVs are spies. They phone home to somebody. That's a watering hole attack. They attack them. They're on your network back through your TV. If I want to do anything fancy on my TV, I go to Microsoft. Well, I either go out and buy some used laptop really cheap that'll run Windows, the latest version of Windows, and then I use this to run my TV. Did you know that a Windows laptop will play absolutely every media source known to man? It won't play Blu-rays or DVDs out of the box. You have to buy an app for that, but you can buy an app for that. Unfortunately, if you're on Linux and you want to play Blu-rays with all the menus and all the specials, you're out of luck. I wish it was otherwise, but if it was, I'd move off of Windows. It's just not. Back up your data. I highly recommend doing backups. Backups can save you from disaster, big time. That machine that got compromised, I use a service called Backblaze. It is the least expensive service I'm aware of. It's even cheaper than rolling my own, even when I buy stuff like used hardwares and servers and all that stuff, or some cases free machines and software. I cannot compete with the cost of Backblaze to back up all my data. And when my machine got compromised, I simply contacted Backblaze. They copied everything onto a hard drive, mailed me the hard drive. I restored from it, mailed the hard drive back. There was a $150 deposit. They refunded it when they got the drive back. So that way you don't have to try to download the entire internet over your 3 megabit download, right? Okay. Yeah.
What about carbonite?
Carbonite is, I believe, on Macs. Is that on Macs?
It is on that, it's available on that.
It's available on Macs.
Mac or PC, it's a.
Yeah, what are you storing your data on? Where does it store your data?
In the cloud.
In the cloud? Yeah, it's,
Okay.
yeah, that should work. Most of these services, Carbonite's a major name, Backblaze is one, there's, Acronis is another one, that will do cloud backups. The advantage of having a cloud backup is in the event something catastrophic happens to your house and your laptop's gone, your data isn't, and you have access to the data in Backblaze because where is the data for accessing it? On the thumb drive you put in your pocket when you evacuate it.
Well, on the backup, what about OneDrive that comes with?
OneDrive, I haven't tested it lately, but one of the things about OneDrive is there are certain file types it will not accept. And so you're playing Russian roulette of which one they won't accept this week.
Oh.
And yeah, so I hate OneDrive. Not to mention that they start charging you the cost once you go over, there's a free limit, free size they have. The cost for the extra storage is not as effective as Backblaze is the absolute cheapest thing.
Okay.
And I was using a different service, and that wouldn't back up all my file types either, but it was the best one I knew of until there's a conference call I'm on every Friday that's international. And one of the guys in Australia who does the same job I do, only he works for their government. He says, "Oh, check out Backblaze. That is the best thing going." And I went and checked out and went, "Oh my goodness, how did I not know about this?" And you probably have heard of it because they're the ones that put out the hard drive report every year that says which hard drives have the highest failure rate. That's Backblaze because they're operating this massive data store for their backup service, and they monitor all the hard drives and determines which models and makes and models have the highest failure rate and which one's the best one. So that report's free every year. I go get it every year to figure out which drives to buy this year. Okay. Make sure you have antivirus protection and it's turned on. Now, that can be problematic. I work in cybersecurity. I have some tools that, let's say Microsoft Defender doesn't think are healthy tools to keep around. So I have to keep them in a folder all by themselves, and I have to exclude that folder from being scanned. Because if it does, it throws more alarms per second than you'd think World War III just started and we went to DEFCON 1. It's crazy. So Microsoft Defender, use that on Windows. It's free. It's actually pretty good. When it first came out, it wasn't so much, but nowadays it's actually pretty good. If you're on a Mac, there's a free software called Avira. I don't know. I don't have a Mac, so I don't know if Mac actually ships with antivirus now or not. There's unfortunately there is a free antivirus for Linux that I can't think of the name of right now.
Maybe.
Clam AV, thank you. Lane, you're right on the, dude. Is requesting to record this meeting. Yes, no,
Should be.
we're already recording the meeting, so
Yes.
approve? Okay, we're already recording it, so I don't think it matters, right? So I highly recommend you install antivirus software. So by patching regularly, make sure you patch your hardware devices as well. If it's not a patchable device, you might want to rethink getting something else to replace it. I'm absolutely ruthless about this. How many, yeah,
Just a question about routers. When do your home routers become too old? That you
when they stop patching them.
Right.
And you can follow, there are Wi-Fi and access point vulnerabilities that come out. When you see one of those, go see if there's an update to your router. That's the problem with commodity routers. Commodity routers are things like Linksys, Netgear, those kind of routers that you buy at the local computer store. Unfortunately, most of those are vulnerable the day you buy them, and they may get one patch within 18 months, maybe, and then they expect you to buy the next version. I got tired of that. I do a lot of I used to do a lot of Wi-Fi hacking. So, and security testing, because we had to make sure our stuff worked. There's a rule in cybersecurity, let your offense inform your defense. That's why we teach hacking. Hacking is an engineering discipline. You can't defend against something you don't understand how it works. So you have to know how the people attack in order to learn how to defend against it. That's why we train soldiers the way we do, right? And police officers.
Right.
Have to do it. Okay, now, one of the things you might check is if you have an older router, there's a project called OpenWRT, Whiskey Romeo Tango. Go see if your router's supported and get the latest version of OpenWRT. They keep that updated. If they don't have that version, you need to get a new router, check their router list that they support and get one of those. Now, if you want to, there's a vendor called Ubiquity, and they have a line called the Unify line of products. That's what I use. That is the low end of enterprise hardware. Now, usually enterprise hardware, an access point for your home is $120 to, well, now they're getting upwards to $300. The entry level for enterprise Wi-Fi access point is about $1,000. Ubiquity costs less than the commodity stuff. I think they're about $100 for an access point. But you have to have a controller to run it. The controller software is free, runs on Windows or runs on Linux. I run an old Linux box that I run their software on. I run it for free. I recommend you can. I have run it on a Raspberry Pi before, but unfortunately they use MongoDB, and Mongo does not regularly publish the latest versions for ARM processors as rapidly as you need to keep up with the upgrades. So I switched over to an x86 box. If you want a really, really good source for cheap hardware like that, when I say cheap, like $35 to $50, go on eBay and you see these thin clients that they sell made by Dell. They're Wise thin clients. Those are x86 boxes with hard drives and Wi-Fi chips, and They're very nice little boxes. Sometimes they come with 16 gigs of memory in them. And those will actually, you can actually use OpenWRT in one of those and turn that into a Wi-Fi access point. I've done that before too. And they'll run the controller software, no problem. And I run Ubuntu on those and install the controller software in there. But you can buy the controller appliance from Ubiquiti and run it that way. Now, here's the nice thing about that. My Ubiquiti hardware is probably getting close to 10 years old. And they're still patching it and still updating it on a regular basis. And I got so tired of Linksys of the week, and then Linksys got bought out by who? Cisco, and it got bought out by somebody else. And yeah, their hardware is just so bad. If it's an IoT device, it's looking for a security disaster to call home. Hopefully not your home. Okay. OPSEC, operational security, is the idea that you want to give the enemy as little information as possible. For instance, they wanted the flight range of a particular Russian bomber that was using a lot of titanium in the plane. So it just so happened that they took the scraps and made hangars out of them for the Russian airline. So a guy got on the Russian plane, stole a hangar, they analyzed the metal, figured out the weight of the plane, figured out the range of the bomber. That's operational security. You have to be very, very careful where you can do an attack where you take unclassified data, and based on the relationship of that unclassified data, you get classified data. A good example is what the OSS, who became the CIA in World War II, would look at shifts in train schedules. All of a sudden, all the trains stopped going in one direction, start going the other direction. And there are a massive number of trains going to this town out in the middle of nowhere nobody's ever heard of. Oh, that's because they're building a new base out there. All the food shipment routes would suddenly change. Well, all that stuff wasn't classified. Well, they could pick up this information out of the people complaining about it to the mayor and it being the local paper. So they would scour all that information to look for unclassified data to get classified data. Your information about you is useful. Here I am on Facebook. I'm at the beach. Look, here we are. We're having a good time. You know what that's called? That's called a please come rob me post. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
People pay attention to that and they go, oh, they're not home. Let's go rob them. Post it after you get back. You have to be careful what you post online. I don't post things like when it's my birthday. Unfortunately, you're only safe as the crazy people around you. My daughter posted the picture of me and told it was my birthday, right? So there's a certain amount of that you can't get away from. You have to check if you've ever been pwned. That's the word for being somebody's cracked your password or your user ID and has gotten your account information. That's the hacker term for that happening is called pwned. There's a service called Have I Been Pwned? You click there, you go there, you put in your email address, it hashes it and checks it. A hash, by the way, is a one-way function that generates a unique ID to something that you give it, but it can't be worked backwards, meaning I can't, from the hash, generate the original input. It hashes it, looks it up in the database to see if that is in the database and if it's compromised. There's a researcher, security guy in Australia who collects, remember all those breach lists? Collects them all, puts them in this massive database, and then you can go in and check. So that's the first place I went when I found out about Gmail, the Google attack, and went and checked to see if our accounts had been compromised. They weren't.
And
Oh.
so it's called PWNED, and if I put that in Google, it will take me to this site?
Oh, no, you want to look for have I been pwned
Okay.
or have I been owned, either one. If you go to my website, there's a link at the end of this. If you
Okay,
go there, you can download this presentation. That link will take you right to it.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, only use services with end-to-end encryption that use HTTPS, POP-S, IMAP-S. If it has S on the end, it means it's secure. Don't send information over unsecured networks. You realize that if, for instance, let's say I have my Wi-Fi secured, I'm good, right? No, that controls from my device to my network. Once it hits my network, it's no longer encrypted. And it goes out over the network. And guess who's listening on the backbone? the NSA, the CIA, BND, GCHQ, KGB. I can't remember the one for the Chinese. Every agency on the planet is sniffing all that traffic. If you want to keep that out, not to mention all the cybercrime guys, if you want to keep that out of their hands, simple, use end-to-end encryption. You've just denied them all that information. Web browsers, don't save passwords in the web browser. There's one exception to this. If you're using a laptop to watch Netflix at home, yeah, go ahead and put the password in there and let it save it so you can do that. But you're not using this laptop. If I'm using this one to do that, I'm not doing my banking on this laptop. Because if that machine gets popped, the only thing they get is your Netflix account. Save your passwords and user IDs in your password database and use them religiously. Set the strictest security settings that will still let you use important sites. Go through your browser. Remember, you're the product. They're trying to collect data off you. Deny them everything. Send reports to Firefox. No. And by the way, Chrome disabled the ability to run some third-party plugins, one of which was uBlock Origin, one of the best ad blockers on the site. Now, there's a lot of debate over ad blockers. That is, you shouldn't do that. You're denying people money. Well, if they're going to run an ad blocker that syndicates malware ads, maybe you should do a better job of what kind of ads they give me. And the day they do that, I'll turn off ad blockers. But until they start policing the content they give me, no, they haven't figured that out yet. So I recommend two. Privacy Badger, that's from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and the other one is uBlock Origin. Those are the only two I run. And they work great. Now, for bonus points, there's a project called Pi-hole. It can run on a Raspberry Pi, but it'll also run on Windows and Linux and everything else. It is a DNS black hole. What that means is it subscribes to lists of known bad actor sites, advertising sites, sites that are doing questionable things. You get to pick which sites you want to use. It automatically blocks those sites in DNS, which means when you try to resolve the name, it doesn't resolve and it blocks that content on every device on your network that's using DNS. That includes your phone. If you're on your phone, it's connected to your Wi-Fi at home, it's being protected by Pi-hole. It's a free service. It's very easy to set up and does all the DNS queries for my entire network. If you really want to go super secret squirrel on it, you can even set it up for encrypted DNS so that even your ISP can't see the request that's going out. Browsers want to use their own encryption for DNS. If you don't have something like Pi-hole, sure, you can turn that on. I don't turn that on. I let Pi-hole do all that for me.
Where's Pi-hole run? On centrally or on all your devices?
No, you run it on one machine on your network, and then you point, all your machines normally point to like your ISP's DNS servers or 9.9.9.9 or 1.1.1.1 or 8.8.8.8 or 4.4.4.4. There's a whole bunch of them like that, right? Instead, you point it to whatever your server, like on my network, it's 192.168.1.4. It points to 9.9.9.9, but it's filtering all those requests and cutting off anything that's a site that's on the bad list. And those lists are updated regularly. So if they find a site that's a bad actor today, it gets added to the list. If a site that's no longer a bad actor, it gets removed from the list. And I don't have to do any of that. Excellent tool. And if you got questions about this, you can always call me. Okay, secure, yeah.
How do we get copies of the?
At the end of this, on the first link on the resource page is a link to my website where you can download this entire presentation. Okay, secure texting and voice messages like SMS and cell phones. Everybody wants you to use WhatsApp or whatever. No, there's one, Signal. You can install it on your phone and you can install it on your computer. And once it's on your computer, you take your phone and you register it through your phone with a what do you call it?
QR.
Thank you, a QR code, and then they're synced. and then your phone and that are synced. And it notices if you haven't used your PC app for a while, it disconnects it. So if somebody steals this, they don't have access to your phone data. That is a secure encrypted end-to-end encryption for a phone. It's available on multiple platforms. Highly recommended.
But you have to talk to someone else's one, Signal.
Yeah, you can talk, you can send text, you can also phone call over Signal. It's excellent, and it's free. It's awesome. Okay, what if you gotta send a file securely?
About telegraph,
I didn't hear that.
telegraph, messaging.
No, that one's not very good. Telegraph, WhatsApp, they're not that good.
What, can I ask why? Cause I use telegraph a lot.
I can't tell you specifically, cause when I read it and said, oh, that's bad, and put it on my don't use list. So, now, I will tell you that, you know who Snowden is?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, he uses Signal. So that answers that question.
It's fine.
Yeah, so, not that I like the guy necessarily, but hey, he's got a point. Now, let's say you've got to share information with somebody else, and you want to do it securely. You can send it through Signal, right? You can also do group chats on Signal. But what if you want to send them a zip file? Well, you can send them a zip file. There's a program called 7-Zip. It's free, runs on pretty much everything. And it has AES 256 encryption built in. So you can encrypt it. And then out of band, like you send them the file via email, no one's going to get into it. Send them the key via Signal, and then they can get into the zip file. The nice thing about that is if it's a really, really big file, like 300 meg or something, I just upload it to my website, encrypted, give them the URL. Anybody, well, you can't download it unless you know the URL to it on my website. I make it so that there's no way a web crawler can just crawl it and get it. So they can download it, and then I can send them out of band the password. Out of band means not in the same message that you sent them the file, right? I send it to them out of band, the password, and then they can download it and get to the file. And I tell them, when you read this, let me know, and I delete the file off the website, so I don't leave it up there. Use a passphrase for the password. Passphrases are awesome. Okay, if you have to, you can always put the passphrase in your KeyPass database. There you go. And always send the password out of band.
How do you feel about Proton Drive?
Proton is actually a pretty good service. There's that top link right there is this file. In fact, take a picture of it. Or I can send it to Lane and he can post it to the group.
Put it on the website.
Yeah, just if anybody wants to take a picture of that.
Yeah.
By the way, these are all these links here are every resource that was covered in this entire presentation is in this list.
And we got it. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
right
have
there.
Proton.
There you go. And that stays up there. I'm not gonna delete that file. So it's up there. There's no password on it or anything like that.
Everybody's trying to get it. Everyone's trying to get it.
Oh, he's excited now. So that's basically it. That'll get you started. And if you want to go full on secret squirrel, that's really, really hard. I get asked that all the time. How do I go dark on the internet? It is possible. It's a lifestyle commitment most people are not willing to do because it is so incredibly painful. Having done it before for the military, you really don't want to do that if you don't have to. So,
I have some questions.
yes, ask away.
Okay, I was downloading a movie and at the end of the download, it said, this ABI file has a virus. They're now attaching viruses. Is it in the codex or
It depends. What operating system are you on?
Windows 11?
Okay, there's a thing called an alternate data stream. Now, the reason those exist is normally your file is think of it as like a piece of paper. This is your file, okay? But on a Mac, you have your file And then you have a separate thing called, that's the resource fork. Or no, that's the data fork. And then you have a resource fork. That's a separate bit of data. And that's all the metadata about the file. On Windows, I know it's a Word doc because it says .docx, and I know that's a Word document. On a Mac, they don't use file extensions. The resource fork has all the metadata that tells it what kind of file that is. So when you click on it, the operating system reads that and says, oh, that's a Word document, opens it up in Word or whatever app that it's associated with. Well, when they wanted to keep Mac files on a Windows server, what do they do with the resource fork?
They'd make a separate file.
Windows only has data. So they created a thing called an alternate data stream. It's a separate bit of data that goes along with the file that's in an alternate stream. So I can actually put a file on your computer that has 1 byte or 0 bytes in the actual file and a terabyte of data in the alternate data stream. And your terabyte hard drive is full and there's 1 file on it with 0 bytes in it. And you're like, so antivirus software, sometimes depending on the virus software, checks the alternate data streams to see if there's stuff in there.
So those 0 byte files I've been deleting on my computer, I should keep them.
No, well, it depends. If you actually want to keep the data that's in the alternate data stream. Now you can go search for alternate data streams on your machine. And by the way, they are used regularly on your computer. For example, have you ever downloaded something from the internet and you click on it and you get this warning up says, this might be a dangerous file? The reason it says that is because you downloaded it with a web browser off the internet. When it downloads it, it creates a bit of data in the alternate data stream that says, this was downloaded from the internet, it might be dangerous. And the operating system, every time you go to access the file says, wait, let me check. Yeah, I think that might be dangerous. Like you downloaded that from the internet be bad. And it says, no, I won't do that. The way you fix that, let me, can I minimize this? No, that's download. Yeah, wait a minute. Here, let me move this out of the way. You can right-click on a file and show more options here.
I don't think you're sharing that to.
No, I'm not, but down here on this right-hand thing, there'll be an extra option for unblock. And you click that and it deletes the data out of that alternate data stream. And then you're, once you do that, they won't give you that warning anymore.
Okay, I still got some more.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you go to some questionable sites. Okay?
Don't go there.
Okay, but
Too late.
let's just say, go there. How about these root viruses?
Oh,
Okay?
rootkits, yes.
So how do we, because my machine sometimes acts funny. I do the virus scans, I use all of them, okay?
Yes.
I must use 8 different virus scanners, okay? Kabuto, I mean, the list.
The problem you run into, one thing is the antivirus software could collide with each other and prevent each other from doing their job. That's one problem.
Okay.
The other one is that antivirus software is reactive. Once people, do you know the best way to go through a minefield? Follow somebody else.
Okay.
That's the way antivirus works. A lot of people get it, they get infected, it gets reported, they upload a sample, and eventually you get a signature on your antivirus, and then when you download it, it says, oh, yeah, that's bad. You know that because somebody else stepped on that line mine before you. What if you're the first one? No antivirus and software on the planet will help you at that point. And they also don't know all of them.
So
You know,
how about ECET is supposed to be like the benchmark for, is it, wait, I mean.
I
use
use-
standalone scan.
I use Windows Defender and that's all I use.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't use malware bytes, you don't?
No, the only, well,
Okay,
here's
versus
malware
example.
bytes is typically used if you're cleaning up after an incident, right? Adware, by the way, friend of mine got infected. And on the way home from work, he heard about Adware. And when he got home, he typed in adware. And by the time he called me, and I went over and looked at his machine, he had over 900 infections. I'm not exaggerating. The machine was like, went to a crawl because he had so many infections. Basic rule of thumb when you get infected. Remove your drive, put in a new drive, install everything from scratch from known clean sources. Take your files, test them in a safe environment like a virtual machine, test them to make sure they're clean, and restore your files or restore them from backup. But once your machine is compromised, it tends to phone home and invite friends. And they're usually the friends the antivirus software doesn't know about yet. So you can never be sure you've actually removed everything. So
Okay.
that's our general rule. We call it nuke and pave, by the
Does
way.
it get on the backup? I mean, how do I know, everything's being backed up? If I've got the infection,
You're
That's
back,
my back-
because when you restore your data files, you're not restoring executables.
got it.
You reinstall executables from scratch. And then any files that you think may be contaminated, you check those and scan them to make sure they're clean.
That would be like Word files and
Yeah.
Excel files.
PDFs, Word files.
Yeah.
PDFs, by the way, can contain JavaScript,
Yeah.
which can be
You know how that
infected,
goes.
which can actually be malware.
Okay, so
The PDFs with malware, that would be ones that I downloaded, not my PDFs, right? I mean,
Correct.
the malware won't,
Well, it is possible to have malware that will infect a PDF with JavaScript.
but a PDF that I made or that was from my documents, and I got a virus, the virus doesn't worm. its way
Not
into
generally.
my
It is
PDF.
possible, but not generally, no.
Got it.
That's a fairly,
We've had-
usually when you see things like that, that's a spear phishing attack. They're
We-
going after you.
We've had.
Stuxnet
infections
sort of
crawl
deal.
through-
Hmm?
We've had infections crawl through Word documents.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
one person would have it and then the other documents on that machine, even though they have not been opened, would be infected.
That's because they're using, Word documents have macro language in them. And it actually executes in the macro language, and from the macro language, it crawls while you open the document in Word,
It
and
looks
Word in the
at the-
background's crawling all the files and infecting them.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
isn't it
Okay,
saying
in that case, how do I get rid of it? Can I scan something and get rid of it out of that Word document?
Yes, well, if you turn off macros, if you have macros turned off, you're immune from that spread.
Okay, got it.
Right, so basically, don't use macros if you can avoid it.
Okay,
It's turned off by default, by the way, yeah.
Windows 11 has that refresh option, okay? You said take out the drive, put in a new drive, make sure all your install files, okay, are fresh from Microsoft. When you do a restart in Microsoft, is that the same thing? Is that?
Not really,
Not really, so,
No.
cause I refresh about once every 3 weeks. Okay, so in other words, I reinstall.
well, what those do is they roll you back to a specific point in time. Are you talking about a snapshot?
No, I'm talking about a full
Factory
clean
reset.
Windows 11 install, where it takes, you go up to the server, up to the cloud, you get a Microsoft image, okay, H2.
Yeah, well, I don't reinstall it back to the same drive because of that rootkit problem.
Oh, cause you don't get rid of the rootkit.
Well, you don't know if, for instance, there's a thing called a master boot sector
Right.
infector, which every time the drive starts, it runs that. Those are getting rarer because of the UEFI firmware, but those don't prevent rootkits completely. There are some rootkits that'll get by UEFI. So typically, what I look at is what's the cost, if you had to take your machine to somebody to have it worked on at $100 an hour, by the time they're done, you could have bought 6 new machines, right? So hard drives are cheap. I just pull the hard drive out, replace it, keep the other one. It's a data source. You can always hook it up externally and copy data off it.
I can't do that. I got an SSD and it's part of it's wired into the,
Yeah, some of the newer laptops, they hardwire or solder the SSDs in the machines. Yeah, I don't buy those for that very reason.
So how do I know if I've been rootkit infected? I've got a hard
It's
drive.
almost impossible to tell if you've been rootkitted. Generally, you're gonna notice, typically what you're gonna notice is behavior that's not expected.
Like what?
Slowing down of the computers.
Yeah, you'll be sitting there doing nothing and you've got, 6 megabytes per second of upload data going on and you're not doing anything to upload data. You'll start your machine, you can monitor all that, I mean, you can go into process monitor.
Oh, this is interesting, though. You can go, you can see if you're uploading.
Yeah, you can see what's using all, like, is there something running in the background? Although this can lie to you too. It depends how sophisticated they are. There's, for instance, you can look at processes, startup apps. You can look to see if there's any apps, what apps are starting up on your machine. If you recognize all of them, you can Google everything that's on here and go see if it's something in there that you're supposed to be using.
And that doesn't come with Windows, that's separate, because Windows got Task Manager. Is that part of
Yeah,
Task?
That's it. That's Task Manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Um,
also look at your network traffic.
Yeah, you can also look at your network traffic, you monitor all that stuff, look at your event logs, check your event logs. Once you start getting into the area of trying to do forensics to determine if you're infected, it gets extraordinarily complicated really, really fast. And depending on the sophistication level of the attacker, that's where it becomes really bad. I've had some attacks where it gets sent to me. Somebody says, "Hey, I got this. Is this legitimate?" And I have to really, really dig to figure out, oh no, that's definitely not legitimate, but it would have fooled me. And in fact, there was one recently where there was a security professional that got hacked by something that was so sophisticated. In fact, the attack that happened to me, I have a project. How many of you have an atomic clock in your house? One of those works off a WWV. How bad is your reception? Mine's terrible where I live.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, I like those kind of clocks and they keep threatening to turn off the service on top of it. So there's a I can't remember the name of it right offhand. There's a project for a Linux app that will take a Raspberry Pi and generate on the GPIO pin WWV RF signals. You have to build, so I hand wound an antenna and tuned it. It's just really tiny. It generates, the field the distance it goes is about 8 feet in radius.
Gets
So
the
it's
time
about
off
16
GPS.
feet across. Huh?
It gets the time off of GPS and
Yeah, well, no, it gets the time off. In my case, I didn't do GPS. You could, but I did off of NTP. So it connects to my wireless network, synchronizes time, generates WWV. I bring my clock over, sit it on the table, say, set yourself. And it goes, oh, look, there's WWV. And it sets itself and it's all right. I forgot why I told you that. Somebody asked a question.
How about virus total? Do you use that?
Oh, yeah, I use that a lot. In fact, that's a really good way. Oh, I was telling you how I got hacked. That's a really good way of knowing if something's clean. Now you have to be careful. They keep copies of that stuff up there. So you have to be very, very careful what you upload. So if you're at work and you take some internal document and give it up to virus total, you've just given away company data. So you have to be careful what you upload. But quite often you get an executable you're not too sure about, go load it up to virus total. Now, one of the things you'll check is when the last time they scanned it. If it was like 30 or 60 days ago, tell them to scan it again because the virus signatures might have been updated. And it'll tell you if it's clean or not. So virus total is a free service. You can go up and send, and you can get an API key for cheap, and you can actually send it a bunch of files automatically through programmatically send it files. So the way I got owned is I was searching for the theory about ferrite core antennas. Those are not the way you normally see a ferrite core antenna. If you got an AM/FM radio and you take it off, the AM radio is a ferrite core antenna, right? Well, I want to design a ferrite core antenna. I never designed one before. So I said, okay, I'm going to go start looking for papers. And I found an academic paper on it. I said, awesome. And it was exactly what I was looking for. I downloaded it. In the meantime, I was like on a phone call and I was doing a bunch of stuff. And I said, well, let me check this file real quick, see if it's okay. And as soon as I went to click on it, I couldn't stop in time. It was PDF.exe. And think about that a second. I went to some random educational university site. And this site gave me a file, exactly what I was looking for, that was malware. And the malware was aimed at stealing cryptocurrency. That's what the malware is for. Now, how did I know it was for stealing cryptocurrency? Because as soon as this happened, I went up to a backup machine, and I jumped, happened to be a Friday, I get on that Friday conference call with all the other security guys across the planet, and we're talking, says, yeah, I got compromised. Really? How? How did you get compromised of all people? How did you get compromised? I was told them what happened. They said, can we have a copy? We want a sample. So now I have to upload them a sample of the virus. They get it, they're analyzing it. We're supposed to be having a meeting. They're analyzing it, and that's how we found out it was trying to steal cryptocurrency. So that means somebody
After I'm through with this.
site. Say again? I heard somebody. So they had compromised this university site, recognized what I was looking for, generated this on the fly and served it up to me. That was pretty sophisticated. And the only reason it caught me is I wasn't paying attention when I double clicked it. Now, one of the other things you notice, it said .exe. By default, Windows does not show you file extensions. Turn that on. Always make sure that's turned on.
Absolutely. Every damn Windows machine
Yes.
has that.
Yeah, anybody?
Okay,
Yeah.
virtual machines.
Yes. VirtualBox, that's the one I recommend,
Okay, so-
although you can get VMware. Currently, you can get VMware Workstation for free. It is better than VirtualBox.
How hard is it to set up for a
Oh, it's
beginner?
not, it's really, it's like setting up an actual physical computer.
Okay, I can do that.
Right, so if you go into the BIOS and do stuff, you'd be have no problem. There's lots of tutorials on it too. I use VirtualBox. VirtualBox is from Oracle.
Well, Oracle.
I'm trying to come up with a nice way of saying Oracle's evil, but I can't think of a good way to say it. Huh?
Larry Ellison.
Well, they're just not to be trusted, okay? I have, at Georgia Tech, we got jerked around so many times by Oracle Corporation in really, really heinous ways. And one of them was over VMware, who isn't owned by them, but not VMware, Sun Microsystems.
Yeah.
We got so burned by them. We were a Sun Microsystems shop, and we got so burned by them. And also VMware, incidentally, also burned us, although they're owned by a different company now than back then. So some of these companies have a reputation of doing rug pulls on their software. They give it to you for free or cheap, and then once you're really embedded in using it, now they're gonna charge you if you want to keep using it. It's gonna cost you, your firstborn son.
Does it?
So far, VirtualBox, which also is open source, has not been done anything funny with it. Now, that being said, all the extra plugins that you need to make everything like drag and drop and all the copy paste, all that stuff work,
It's like,
that comes under their PUEL license. And you have to read that license to find out if you can use it in your circumstances. If it's personal use, you're good. That's all those extensions. You can run VirtualBox without any of those extensions. It's just annoying. For instance, you can't cut and paste commands and things like that. But yeah, I use VirtualBox, and in fact, I do a lot of my testing in VirtualBox when I'm going to test something. Before I install a piece of software and I want to know what it's going to do, I install it in a VirtualBox and test it in there.
so if I run everything in VirtualBox and then at the end of the session, I save all my videos or whatever, am I safe from viruses?
Safer. Yeah.
Safe-
Yeah. You
Well-
realize, here's the thing. Anytime you do something that's questionable, we'll say,
Okay.
there's no honor amongst thieves, and they know that's a watering hole attack. So if they go there and they're trying to compromise people, that's where they go. They have something that you want, you're willing to go a little outside the norm for it. You're going to have to be, it's the same problem with the drug trade. You're gonna have to deal with people that are of unsavory character and you never know what you're gonna get.
So VirtualBox doesn't give you a higher level of say, security. Once you've downloaded the file, you can put it through a scanner and then can you copy it to the actual disk or?
Oh, yeah, yeah, it is possible to copy it out of VirtualBox onto a drive. One thing you can do is you can actually put in a thumb drive or an external drive, pass it through to the VirtualBox and copy it from there to the drive. And in an entire process, that drive's not accessible by your main machine. So, until you actually plug it into your host, your machine you're running on, until you plug that drive into the host itself,
You're clean.
you're clean. Now, you're gonna plug it into the host, but it's gonna capture that and pass it to the virtual machine, so the host never sees it when you do that. Yeah, VirtualBox, if you're gonna do anything in computing or security or anything like that, VirtualBox is an awesome resource because you can test everything in there. It also allows you to run software that's not available on your operating system. I want to run that software. It's the perfect thing to run for controlling the ICOM 705, but it only comes on Linux. Well, I'll just run a virtual machine of Linux and just control it through that. And then I can make that full screen and do all the things I do with it normally. So VirtualBox and virtual machines is exceptionally powerful software. It also does a very cool thing called snapshots. And this is VMware and VirtualBox. I get the machine fully patched, everything's just the way I want it. I take a snapshot. I do whatever I want to do, experiment. Oh, okay, yeah, that didn't go exactly the way I want. Restore the snapshot. It throws out all the changes, goes back to the way it was. And it takes about a minute or less to do that. Otherwise, you would take your machine, take the hard drive out, go over to my drive wiping station that I have, wipe the drive forensically, put it back in the machine, reinstall all the operating system, go through the whole day's worth of patching to install all the patches, get everything set back up, and now after a day, I'm ready to run my next test. Or I can just say, revert snapshot. Sip of coffee. Oh, there we go. Start again. And I can have more than one virtual machine. I can have the equivalent of an entire machine room on my machine. The only limitation is if you're gonna run them multiple machines at the same time, you have to have enough memory and processor to run them. It won't crash, it just runs real slow.
So why, and I guess the last question is, why hasn't Microsoft or Apple or somebody come up with a way to freeze the kernel and freeze some of these attacks?
It's not profitable for them.
Well, there's also the problem of the problem with any of these operating systems, it's like having an old DC-3 airplane. Have you ever seen one of those? They're like from 1930s, I think.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw one at PDK. It was actually landed and loaded cargo and took off with cargo. I was like, wow, they're still using those. It's like having a DC-3 and your Microsoft, and that's your operating system. And I now will need to turn that into a Learjet. Oh, you can't land the plane. You got to keep flying while we do that. That's the problem they're running into. Now, Apple has been really good about saying, oh, that machine, yeah, we don't support that anymore. You got to buy a new machine. They've done that many times. And people say, you'd never get away with that. Yes, they have. Microsoft has never done that. So they have a real problem with being backward compatible, but only so far. So now there's certain apps that will no longer run on modern Windows. And you have to go get something like DOSBox or something like that to run some of those.
So can I run multiple virtual machines on like, on an old Windows operating system, like a Windows 9 or 10?
Probably not. If you had a version of VirtualBox from that era, probably. The downside is you never want to connect one of those systems to your network.
No, but
Yeah. Now you can run older operating systems in a virtual machine.
because I want to just, from listening to you now, I have a bunch of computers. I want to just take one and take it off the internet. Well, I haven't connected, keep it off the internet and just run a virtual machine in there. And I can like fiddle around and test things and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah, you can run old operating systems. There are network attached storage devices that will allow you to run virtual machines. It runs a thing called Proxmox. It does exactly what you're talking about. And I want to build one of those so bad. Randa, that's my better half over there, much better half. Everybody asks me, how did I know a supermodel? And my question is, I have no idea. I don't know.
I think that's to answer part of Bob's question. I'm actually running VMware on Windows 7 right now. And
Yeah, it'll run
I've
on
got
that.
it set up for a 4 gig, very minimal machine, and I use it to test stuff I
That's
download
not what
from
it
Flex Radio.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I want to do.
If I download the Flex software, I install it on that virtual machine to make sure I know what to do, and then I install it.
Okay, that's
on
Yeah.
what I got.
Yeah, Windows 7 or newer
Yeah,
will work fine.
it's not gonna scream, it's gonna be slower than crap, but it'll work.
It'll work.
Yeah. VPNs, are they worth having or not?
They have a purpose, but they're generally what they tell you that a VPN is for is not what they're actually used for.
Yeah.
What a VPN allows you to do is go from one place on the internet to another through the internet where the internet is not safe, but either end is. An example is I'm sitting at home with my computer, and normally that would be connected to the network at Georgia Tech. But I'm not at Georgia Tech. And how do I connect my machine that's outside of Georgia Tech and make it look like it's behind the firewall at Georgia Tech? Well, I run a VPN, and that's the equivalent of me running a network cable from my house all the way to Georgia Tech. That's effectively what it is. The problem with VPNs, the VPN providers don't tell you, is that once the traffic leaves the VPN server on the other end, it goes out on the internet just like it would have if it came from your house. So if it was unsecure leaving your machine, it's unsecure when it leaves the VPN. Also, VPNs can be a watering hole attack, meaning if I'm looking to capture data, a bad guy go camps outside at the exit point of a VPN and sniffs all the traffic there. Now he's not just sniffing one person, he's sniffing everybody that's using the VPN. That's why if you want to, now where VPNs come in very useful is changing your location as far as the network is concerned. Right now, I look like I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. If I use a VPN, I can look like I'm in the Netherlands. That might be useful if you're trying to access something that's only accessible from the Netherlands. Yeah.
If I go to a hotel, right, and I travel for work, I'm in a hotel. Now, the hotel Wi-Fi, or even if I plug into a Cat5 in the wall of the hotel, couldn't somebody be sniffing the network
Yes.
there? Isn't that a use case for the VPN?
Yes.
Okay,
And the advantage of that, remember what I said is it goes from one place that's insecure. I want to make it secure, and I want to transit over an insecure network. And a hotel is a good example of an insecure network.
Yeah.
And it takes me somewhere that's not the hotel.
right.
Right. Yes, that's a
good
use
place-
case for a
that's good
VPN.
place for somebody to sniff, you know, at an expensive hotel, they could sniff people that might be checking their stocks or their bank,
Exactly.
and that's a good use
Now,
case.
one of the advantages, I answered the person online here about using a VPN service is quite often they don't have just one exit node. They're scattered all over the world.
Right.
So you can pick where your exit node is quite often. And so you can decide, put it in a different country if you want to. So yes, that is a very good use case is when you're on like a Wi-Fi network or a hotel or a Starbucks, you're using a VPN, nobody on that network can see any of your traffic. Because your machine can leak data. Right? It can say, hey, where's that printer? I got your printer. I'm your printer right here. I'm your Huckleberry. Is that good? What's a Tombstone? I think that was the movie Tombstone. Yeah. So does that answer your question online?
Yes.
Okay. If you have any more, I'm easy to get a hold of. I'm retired. I have nothing to do but annoy my wife and build projects. and talk to you guys on the radio. So
Can you go down to the end so we can pick up the?
You're doing pretty good.
That's the link right there, right?
That's it. Yeah.
No box line.
yeah, this
Okay.
this right here, that is the presentation right there. So just take a picture of that, go to that website, download that, and that's this presentation. And then you'll have, it's in a PDF, it's also in a PowerPoint, you get both. So you can click on those, copy them, whatever you want to do.
Anybody on Zoom have any more questions or anything to say?
I've got a question.
Yeah,
As far as like accounts like Facebook, if somebody's got the same name as you, some newer Facebook account or something, what's an acceptable way to try to find out, is it somebody spoofing you or is it a real person?
that's actually rather difficult. The reason is, anybody can make up an account on any social media website they want, and they can have
Talking to
those social media.
a Zoom meeting.
But a different user ID. Their user ID will be different, but their names can be the same. Anybody can do that, including state actors. So you have people, there's a security service in Russia that has been making, since about 2014, has been making numerous false social media accounts for the purposes of doing psychological warfare. And they're actually very good at it. And in fact, there's a New York Times article about that, as a matter of fact. Let me beat on the table so you guys hear thump, thump, thump all day. I just realized I was doing it. I'm sorry.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I got a question.
Sure.
Talk about using like password managers. My reservation about that is somebody hacks into that, they got all your passwords. Would that be a correct way to think about it?
Yes, if you're using for instance, if you have a password program like KeyPass, it comes out with patches periodically. Install the patches, get the latest version. Also, it's not a online service, it's running on your machine. So it's certainly somebody could attack you and try to attack your password database. But if you're using a good passphrase for your password database, they're not going to get into it. Now, there have been multiple compromises of online password managers, like 1Password, I think, is one, and there are several of them, where they've had compromises of their passwords in their cloud service. That's why I don't use cloud services. The other problem with cloud services is not all of them allow you to keep a local copy of the password database locally. So if you're not online, you can't access your passwords. Now, that's not all of them. Most of them realize that's a downside, so they allow you to keep a local copy. The reason that people like the cloud services is if I have multiple devices, when I go to do my passwords, it works the same across all of them. In the case of KeyPass, well, I'm going to have to copy that password database to all my machines and bring it over on a thumb drive, as an example. Now, I use a service at home. You've all heard of no, that's not it. Dropbox. You've all heard of Dropbox, right? If I wanted to synchronize my machine and your machine, automatically synchronize the password file, it's $15 per machine per month. When you have like 5 machines and a couple of phones, that adds up real fast to real money. There is a service called SyncThing. Oh, I can't. Oh, wait a minute. This is a browser. Yes, I can. This service right here, SyncThing, this is free. And you can install it on multiple devices, and it'll essentially do what Dropbox does with asymmetric encryption, and meaning you have a private key and a public key, and you can register your devices, and it'll happily sync things across multiple devices. You can even sync things across the internet. I don't typically do that. I just do stuff on my local network. And the very first project I built when I retired was where our grandson was born. So we were getting all these pictures, and my wife's birthday was coming up. So what did I do? I built a digital picture frame. I thought that was a cool thing to do. Unfortunately, digital picture frames are a security nightmare looking for a place to happen. Your house, not gonna be at my house. So I built a digital picture frame. I took an old monitor, LCD, really nice LCD monitor that's too low res for anything modern. I set it up so it's right here above her laptop screen. I took a Raspberry Pi. I put software on there to do a slideshow. I use SyncThing so that there's a folder on my laptop, a folder on her laptop. Anything we add or remove from that folder syncs between our two machines and the digital picture frame. And most digital picture frames, if you get a really, really good one, might let you host 100 pictures. Currently, ours has right about 7,000. They take a lot of pictures. My daughter and her family take a lot of pictures. So I solved that problem with something that's actually secure, and I use SyncThing to do it. And it's kind of like Dropbox, but it's free. Not too hard to set up either.
I have two questions. And, one, I think we talked about this, is someone will say, my Wi-Fi is safe because I'm running, I hide my SSID.
Oh, no, it's not. Okay, let me put this back up here. Okay. Your SSID is what advertises your wireless network. Okay. But it doesn't mean, it just means I don't know the name of it. I need to know the name if I want to associate with it, but I don't necessarily need it in order to attack it. In addition, the SSID is kind of like the return address on an envelope. There's a standard location in the top or left corner, but it's also recorded on the back of the envelope where they used to put it when I was a kid. It's still there in the packet. Somewhere else in the packet, there's the not standard location. It's not the location it looks for the SSID when it puts it on the list. So it is possible to capture all the packets for a network, sift through them, find an access point because the header's different, says it's an access point, sift through the header and find the SSID and still attack the network. It's just not in the standard location for it. So it makes them have to jump through more hoops. It protects you from it's like locks, most locks protect you from honest people. Right?
Right.
Sort of honest people, right? I do lock sport, and it's something you have to learn as a security professional because all security starts with physical security. There is no such thing as perfect security. The idea is to slow the attacker down so you have time to detect, and once you've detected, you have to respond, which means you have to watch and you have to respond, or it doesn't help. Locks are that way.
You have to know how to respond effectively.
Yes.
Now, is AI helping the good guys at all? in
Yes.
this endeavor?
AI can, in certain circumstances, be a force multiplier. So it's like they have automatic weapons, and now we have automatic weapons. It's an arms race. It's always an arms race. And both sides are using them. They're just not, they're kind of like the square peg, and you have to always find square holes to plug them into. They don't fit into they're not a solution to every problem, despite what the people in AI try to tell you. They're not a solution to every problem. Now, I have found that some of the AIs could be very useful. Google has an AI search return. It's not gospel. I have found sometimes it gives me really, really bad answers, but quite often it gives me an excellent summary. And I found that if you create a Word document, you can literally copy that response and paste it in, and it'll keep all the formatting, which is really nice. The next thing I do is I save all the links. I open them in a tab and save them all so that I have the references it referred to. Ultimately, you're going to have to go read those references if you really want to understand what it's talking about.
Keith, when you copy it over, is the metadata going with it?
What metadata?
That you get off the AI program you were talking about?
No, all you're getting is a response. Like, here, I'll show you one.
Okay. Because I was told I have to go through Notepad, copy it off a Notepad,
Yeah.
then put it in, so.
Well,
people can tell I
here-
got it from the.
Now, there are tools, there's like EXIF tool is one that will actually go in and remove all the metadata on a file.
Okay.
I do, in fact, that's a good idea. Anytime you post a picture, OPSEC, you post a picture, it has like your GPS location and all kinds of stuff in there. There's a tool called EXIF tool, EXIFTOOL. And that tool from the command line, you can say, remove all the metadata. Now, part of the metadata, if you have a photo and you shot it like this, but it shows like this when you look at it and you take it and rotate it, telling it to rotate it is part of the metadata. So as soon as I tell it to delete the metadata, it goes, oh, let me put that back for you. That was really annoying. I went through that 3 times this morning before I figured that out.
It's called EXIF.
Tool, TOOL. Yeah, EXIF tool here. Yeah, EXIF tool. Excellent. In fact, it's a command line tool. I could show you what it looks like. What was the thing I was going to tell you? Oh, Google's research. This is what is 2-meter ham radio. 2-meter band, a portion of the very high frequency VHF spectrum used by licensed amateur radio operators for the communication. So you see, it's giving me a correct answer. Over here is all the links. So I can literally take this and just copy this. Control C, open up a Word doc, paste it in there. It'll keep this with all the formatting. Then I can go over here and say show all. I can go up here and click on each of these. It's going to open a tab. And then I can jump to those tabs. Let me get out of here. Where's F11? I've got to learn I just got this laptop for doing for ham radio, and I have yet to figure out the keyboard. It's the, yeah, I'm gonna just hook up a full-size keyboard to this. What I'm gonna do. And now we can look at this. You see, these are the links that it pulled down, and here's a guy talking about 2-meter ham radio concepts. He's talking about 2-meter. One of the cool things is quite often, let's see if it has it on this one here. If there's some text that it referred to, you notice this URL up here. This is a way of telling a URL to highlight content on a page and jump to it when they haven't put what's called an HTML anchor on the page. It's very, very useful. So when I save this page, if I do save it out, I save the link, it saves that highlighting. And if I print it to a PDF, it also saves it with the highlighting. So this is actually what it referred to in its answer.
From the other website.
From when I go back here to my original search, what is 2-meter? What it referred to in this answer that it got from that page is highlighted on the page. So you can actually go look at the source to see if it's correct. And so that, which is really handy, especially if it's one thing if I ask it a question about something I know, but if I'm asking something where I'm kind of fuzzy on, or I don't know anything about, I can actually find the references. The key to doing searches on the internet is there are roughly on any given topic 5 sites that are the sources of information for that. And then those sites are linked to lots of other sites. These get more references than anybody else. Hopefully, when you do a search like that, it shows those. However, there's a report that came out that says that Google's AI response like this is almost appears to be purposely picking anything but those major references. It's picking obscure sites. The information's correct. It's just not going to those epicenter sites. Now, what that's the equivalent of is, you all remember the library and the library catalog? You could go research a subject and say, I'm interested in ham radio. So I could go find a book that mentions ham radio. And it has, the first thing you do is you get the book, you look up the bibliography, and you start a spreadsheet. And you list all the book and everything it referenced. And then you find every other book and you do that. And eventually you build this matrix and you look at it and say, what are the 5 books that were most referenced by all of these other books? Go get those books and read those books. Those are the books you want. That's essentially what you do with the internet when you're searching for data. It's the same thing, except you don't have to dig through a musty old card catalog in the library and get kicked out because they're closing in 10 minutes.
That's how Google started.
Yes,
One more question about the hiding the fake IP address with the @ sign in it.
the what?
@ sign in the IP address.
In the IP address or the email address?
IP address. It's a take,
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
so you've got a URL there,
Mhm.
and at the end of it, there's @ sign and a big number. And it takes that big number as the IP address.
Yes,
Not what's before the @ sign, and you don't know, you just saw some big thing. You
yes.
think you're going to google.com and you're not.
Yeah, and there's one way of encoding IP addresses in decimal format, and they don't look like an IP address, which is what you're referring to. Yes, that can be a problem, and it can take you someplace you weren't expecting. Now, if you're gonna be doing anything like that, and you need to do that, and there's the possibility that can happen, do it in a virtual machine. If anything happens, you can always just delete the virtual machine or revert snapshot, you know? There are attacks that try to break out of a virtual machine and get either into the control software for virtual machines or escape into the host. Those attacks do occur. They're exceptionally rare in the context of what we would be doing with them.
Everything after the @ sign looks like the domain, because it looks like an email address to the processor. I was trying to figure out how that would
Not
work.
for browser.
Everything before it looks like.
It depends on,
Everything after looks like
it depends on how it's parsed, and
Yeah.
what it's, in one way, it can pass data to the server you're talking to. The server, how it parses it versus how your browser parses it are two different
You need the
things.
ampersand.
I'd have to actually, the ampersand, at symbol or ampersand?
Hmm.
When you see an ampersand symbol and a bunch of stuff, that's data. A common place for that is on Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things you can do for Amazon to make it real simple, you don't get lots of garbage in your links, is you just copy the HTTPS Amazon.com, and then it'll say, let me just go to one and show you. That's the simplest thing to do. Okay, let's see,
What happened? You went secure there for a second.
You turned on game mode.
who knows? Let's see, let me think of something.
HD radio.
Baofeng.
You can actually spell that.
Okay, now, when I go and I click on this radio here, you'll notice this really nasty, move that a little bit so I can see it. Okay, you notice this URL and it's got all this garbage in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, there's probably an @ symbol in here somewhere. There's one right there.
Ampersand.
Ampersand right there. Well, that's how it passes information and parses information and sends to the server. The server parses that. Well, you don't need any of that. All you need in this URL. Yeah, there's just a little bit of junk there in there. Here, let's make this faster. Home. There we go. All you need, you don't need this text description. We can delete all that. You need Amazon/DP and this number up to this slash. That is the sum total data you need for any item in Amazon. Now,
Exactly.
the downside. If you're supporting your favorite YouTuber, somebody has an affiliate link and you want to make sure they get credit for it, you need that long string. Otherwise, when you save your string out, I delete all that other garbage. You don't need any of that other stuff. You just need that. There's also a site, do you know about Camel? That's what it's called. Camel, just here. I'll show you.
There it is.
This site right here, camel.com. Now, if we go back to this site, we take this number right here and we go here and paste this in. It tells me the historic price for that item on Amazon.
I have no idea about that.
So I know right now, it's going for 44, 45, 58. That's like the lowest it has ever been. Which radio is that, by the way? Anybody catch that? That,
10 watt. AR5.
no, there's another radio that Baofeng just came out with that this thing is amazing. Not a Rubicon, I think, just covered it. Anyway, it's about $50 and it does what about a $5,000 Motorola does. It's pretty awesome. But if you want to know what the price history is, at first it came out at 100, it's now down to about $50. You can go to Camel and see what the prices are and know if you're getting a good price or not. Very handy. You can also, if you sign up on it, you can get it to send you alerts when it hits a certain price.
Wow.
Yeah, that's also very handy to know if when they tell you it's the special for Black Friday, if it's actually a special for Black Friday or not, right? If they're playing games with you. So nothing to do with security, but just handy information.
On a related note, since we've come to the end.
Yeah, any more questions online?
Could you just show the where we get the link to download again? I'm sorry, I wasn't on the right screen
Oh,
earlier.
no problem, right there. Yeah, just take
It'll be on the
screenshot
ARP
of it.
website.
You gonna put it on there?
Yeah, I know, someone's gonna put it on
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, if I need, I can mail it to you or mail it to somebody or
Rob.
I'll send it to them.
handles the
there. Yeah,
website.
because I can certainly.
Yeah, when I
remember
get home, I'll
after-
email it to you.
Yeah,
I used to order.
I can actually
stuff for
email you
our
the whole
company.
presentation if you want.
I used to
Yeah.
order stuff for our company through Amazon, and I would find something that was a reasonable price, and I would send it off to the other 2 or 3 people in the group I was in. And it seems like that if you have a similar IP address and you ping it, you get one price. The third person that ping it gets a little higher price. The next person, they actually adapted the price in
Yes.
real time, depending on how many times it got queried from a similar address.
Yep, and they can also keep track of, you looked at it and then
You come back in a week later.
you didn't come back a week later, it's lower.
Yeah.
That's because they're trying to say, oh, wow, they looked at it, but they did, let's lower it, see if we get them to bite this time. Yes, you can actually game Amazon.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out how to game it at one point just for the hell of it, because I don't care if we pay an extra buck for something, we're gonna charge the customer $10 for anyway, right? But Ben, and I think Lynn may have met Ben one time, we were trying to figure out how to do it, we'd actually ping and mess with it, see if we could figure out how to do it. And you could pop that price, we could jiggle the price around all week, it became a game.
Oh, yeah, I was ordering a part just the other day and I Googled it and looked at it, it told me it was coming from this one vendor and it was this much. So I took that number that I showed you, that unique number, that number is unique to that item by that vendor.
Right.
Yeah.
So I logged into Amazon, I put the number in there and it gave me a completely different
Different
vendor.
price.
And I went, wait, what? So that's the first I've ever seen that.
They do some weird stuff behind the scenes, once you start
Yeah.
paying attention to it, if you look for a generic item, God knows what if you look for a specific brand name, you usually get the same results every time, except the price will bounce with it.
Yes, they do play games with the price. They'll change prices based on where you are in the country or where you are in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can play games. Another use for a VPN, by the way.
I use mine so I can watch British television.
Yes, that is an excellent use for VPNs, by the way, is that British TV is free to people in Britain. Well, no, actually they pay a TV tax, right?
Yeah, but we don't pay it.
But if you're doing it online, you don't have to pay that tax.
Right.
But they only give it to British IP addresses, but they allow VPNs. So if you're coming in with a VPN provider, now they can get a list of VPN endpoints and block them. They just don't.
They just know it's.
Yeah, so you can actually watch stuff on British TV.
All right, do we have any more questions? This has been great. I'm enjoying it. Go ahead.
We got an echo.
That me.
All right.
Me back.
All right, do we have any more real questions?
This has been a good, I knew this was gonna be great.
Okay,
And by all means,
all right, you did. Very well.
who's doing this?
Where's your power button?
Oh, and you can always contact me and I'm happy to answer questions and,
Rob has this, he can post it on the website, you're okay with that?
oh, yeah, it's public available, go for it.
All right, so you guys listening in, this will be on the website, there's all the links. And he did say you could contact him if you had questions, you may regret that.
I do this all the time.
You may regret that. This has been good, guys. This has
Thank
been
you
good.
very much.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I stop sharing now?
Yeah, I want to see if I can share it.
Yeah, now we talk dirty. Once we.
Click on allow.
Still in charge of that?
No, I retired. Okay, what's this?
Allow.
Yes.
There you go. I'm with the police department there. We get 3 hours of cybersecurity.
Is this your box?
But nothing like this.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I retired at the end of 2022
Okay.
and,
When you were at GTRI, did you know Bob Trevitt?
yes.
He was my roommate at Tech.
Oh, wow.
Anyway,
Yeah, small
small
world.
world.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
it's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. That's what Stephen Wright came up
Hey,
with.
before you go, we're gonna have the drawing for the door prize.
Is it an actual door?
We're gonna have a drawing for door.
What size door?
I've been complaining about it, so we're gonna do it.
It's a door for a table.
So, you've got the Zoom meeting, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so I can get out of that.
all right, let me
No,
find,
leave me.
I have it on my,
What happens if
Oh,
somebody?
it's
else-
not.
Rob.
Rob.